You're listening to the Working Joe's podcast, starring Ralph Wolf and Zack Psioda. Download the podcast on iTunes, or for Android, use Podcast Addict or Stitcher. For more information, you can visit WorkingJoesRoundtable.com. Welcome back to the Working Joe's podcast. I'm Zack Psioda, here with my co-host Brent Ridley and Ralph Wolf, and we are reminding you to go over to YouTube and make a comment there when this podcast posts so that we can know what you think about the podcast and any ideas you have for us or any questions. We'd also like to remind you to change your oil every 3,000 miles and floss twice a day. Ralph, how are you doing?
I'm all right, but Chevrolet says I don't have to change my oil but every 5,000 miles.
Well, I know some guys that would say that Chevrolet, you shouldn't even buy one in the first place.
And I know those same guys would drive a Chevy if they had to.
Yes, they would. They would. If they broke down the side of the road and a guy with an S10 came up, they go, yes, sir, I'd like a ride.
Well, you're going to have to get in the back, you Ford lover.
That's exactly right. So,
Brent's not very fond of Ford right now, are you, Brent?
Oh, gosh.
Well, you know what? We just bought another one, so.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, you know, it's funny. My truck went into the Ford dealership to get repaired, and that same day we bought a new vehicle, a brand new Transit while I was in there.
Oh, when a Ford dies, another one is born.
That's it. So, you know, I'm kind of impartial. I kind of just figure it's gonna break. It's just shit's gonna happen no matter what. So you just gotta kind of go with the flow, man.
Just like air conditioners, right?
Hey,
exactly right.
Just like air conditioners.
Way to bring it home.
Break. Hey, and you know what? I was on the phone today with Chris Greathouse, right?
Right.
And we were talking
about his Bosch inverter.
No.
What the error codes mean?
But we were talking about air conditioners and what error codes?
Sorry, I'm just kidding. It's fine. The thing's working fine. I'm sorry. Continue.
But we were talking about one of the air conditioners breaking or something like that, and trying to. No, it was airflow. The job he was on, the transition was very bad. He posted on Facebook actually. It had one transition, and then somebody put something new in, and they made a transition onto that transition.
Ooh.
And they had very poor airflow. So he was like, and I tried to tell him, and they said, well, you know, that thing's been running great for 20 years, right? Well, I said, well, here's what you do is the next time somebody says that to you, you say, look, have you ever known a guy, or a woman for that fact, who never complained about anything, but meanwhile, they were feeling like hell, but they didn't say anything. And then all of a sudden they get put in a hospital and they just die. Because they never let anybody know that, you know, they never went to the doctor and they never told anybody how they were feeling so somebody else could tell them, hey, you really need to go to the doctor. Well, that's kind of what your air conditioner is doing. It can't talk. It can't tell you. And although you think that it's doing okay, it's really not. So just like the man that just died, you know, your air conditioner does the same thing. It's going to perform and it's going to do okay, and you never know there's a problem until it actually dies.
Absolutely, I get that all the time. People say, "Well, it's worked great for X amount of years," and I'm gonna say, "No, it's what you're used to. It could work a whole lot better. Just wait and see."
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah,
exactly. Zack, I sold a five speed today.
Oh, what are the details of that? Well, you know, come back to that. You know, finish up your thing on Great House.
But anyway, but he was like, you know, that's a great analogy. I was like, well, yeah, I try to use them because a lot, you know, if you talk technical to people, they don't understand what you're saying anyway, and they're just like, oh, I'm going to buy it just to get rid of it, so I don't have to listen to your Greek anymore.
Oh, salesmanship 101. Talk until they buy, and you know, because they want you to go.
Yeah. So
white collared shirt and all.
That's right. Yeah. Pleated pants.
No, not just a white collared shirt, but a total white shirt.
Oh, nice.
Yep. With pleated iron pants, khaki pants.
That's exactly right.
Yep.
Fine looking gentlemen. Yep.
Mm-hmm. With their nice brochures.
That's right. Trifold brochures. They don't come from Vistaprint there, baby. No, sir. Reebok.
There'll be no Vistaprint.
No.
What about you, Brent? Do you carry any sort of brochures around?
Nope. I don't carry anything like that. I sent John Israel how everybody gives their proposals. I sent him one. What I do is I go in there and I talk to the folks, and I just talk to them. I kind of, ask them, how the unit's been performing, and I kind of go from there. And for a while, I get their email, and then I'll email them I got like a little pre-made email kind of set up. It tells how, it gives a brief explanation on how the installation matters more than the brand, and that you need to make sure you're using a good quality contractor that does a good install. And then I give them the good, better, and the best options, and I email it to them, and then I'll follow up in a few days on it. It's kind of how I do it.
So you're quoting 14, 16 in inverters or 5.
Correct.
Well, that must be where John got his idea, because he was talking about that the other day.
Yeah, I know. I heard him talk about that. I don't know if he got it from me or what, but yeah, I sent him that one evening. He was curious about it, so I sent it to him.
Well, he was talking about doing a 14, 16 in inverter, and our counterpart Ralph here was saying how, especially in heat pumps, you can basically do a 15 very easily. So do a 15 in inverter. Was that what you were saying, Ralph?
Yeah, I don't even quote the middle of the 16s here. I just 14 and then inverter.
Yeah. A lot of people, you give them 3 choices like that, they pick the middle choice almost every time.
Right.
So it's more money in your pocket that way.
Well, man. It is, but I don't know. I just put in like variable speed or something like that, upsize the coil, and get them a higher SEER.
Well, I think we came up with a solution for this problem, Ralph. You remember, to the good, better, best adaption is that you will say that you'll quote a 15 SEER, an inverter, and a full eco-modular system, which is non-existent. So they'll pick the middle one, which is the inverter.
Which is the inverter.
That solves the problem right there.
There you go.
But today when I saw that inverter, I didn't have to give them that option. I didn't give them an option at all. He just said, I'm going to be living in this house for a very, very long time. I said, okay. And what you need is an inverter. What's that? And I pulled out my phone. I showed him my electric bill, my daily usage, and explained to him that I have 2 mini splits and a 5-speed, and told him the story about going from 70 degrees at 60% humidity down to, or up to 76 at 49% humidity. Showed him my thermostat on my phone, and the guy was like, oh, hell, I like that, because he wanted to upsize his equipment. Like, no, I got a better option.
No.
Yeah, and I tried to tell him that.
No.
Yeah, so he was all for it. He said yes.
Well, how about, like Brent over here, before we get on to Jason, we'll say Jason O. Jason O.
Jason, no.
Was it Obrzut? Well, he'll tell us, because that's the first question I asked him. The good, better, best for you, Brent. I mean, because you guys it's Carrier, so you have green speed. Do you include that? Or is it like a 5-speed, then a green speed is the best? Or how do you stagger yours? I mean, you do 14, 16, 18? Or do you say, you look at a guy and say how many boats he has, whether or not you're going to say green speed or not?
Nope, I don't like the green speed. I have 2 green speeds put in, and I don't like them personally, to be honest with you.
No.
They modulate down to 40%, and the 5-stage modulates down to 25%. So I'm much more of a fan of the 5-stage and than I am the green speed. I actually got a guy up in Dahlonega, Georgia. He wanted the green speed. I tried to talk him out of it. He wanted it. So I put him in one, and he likes it okay. But then he has another system, and I talked him into going with the 5-stage. So he's got a green speed in the main floor, and he's got a 5-stage upstairs. And he told me when I went out there the other day that he liked that 5-stage a lot better. So basically, I just give him a 14 base model. Then I give him a 16 SEER Infinity and a 5-stage Infinity is what I do.
So I did ask the guys at ICP, how come you just didn't do inverter? Because it's basically the same compressor. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Why didn't you just do fully variable speed? Like the green speed. And they said, because we figured out we don't need to do it.
No, you don't. I really think that 5-stage is just as good, if not better, than the fully modulating green speed.
Well, on the green speed, can you lock out to where it doesn't go like 100%?
I'm not sure, Ralph. I don't know.
You know, because on the 5-speed we can lock out the 5th stage or the 4th stage if we want to, and we can lock out 1st stage. So really, if we wanted to, we could just have stages 2, 3, and 4 running, or just 2 and 3.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, to back up a minute, Zach, I used to work for a company down there on Hilton Head, and they used to actually stagger their good, better, best. They do like a good would be the 14th SEER, the better would be like the 18th SEER inverter, and then the best would be like a geothermal system.
Yeah.
Like ground loop and all, you know.
Now that one really is getting into the better.
Yeah, and they, you know, and they sold a lot of them damn things. They
yeah,
really
but
did. Sold a lot. Well,
that's when you had the government tax credits, though.
Yeah, they get
30%. A lot of money.
Get a lot paid back. Yep.
Yeah.
I guess that's a lot to do with market, which good, better, best actually means. Because here would be, you know, like John's doing 14, 16, 18, and I guess if the market opens up, you could include geothermal or whatever crazy system you want to do, like Green Speed or Linux's whatever it is, 25 SEER. If that's right, XP 25, is that right? XP 21, 25, something like that. I'm not very familiar with Linux.
Yep.
But
I'm looking forward to hearing what Jason's got to say.
Hey, you just stole my line.
Well, you can say it anyway. Hey, go ahead. Go ahead, Ralph.
Hey, I'm interested in what he has to say too.
I, for one, don't care anything about him. I'm just kidding. Well, you guys, you know, I have to be different than you guys. But let's listen to what Jason has to say. He is a man of many talents, many jobs, and we're going to learn about a little bit of what he does here on the Working Joe's podcast. We at the Working Joe's podcast would like to thank Brent Ridley for stopping by to help us with the intro. Now, me and Ralph are going to get down to talking to Mr. Jason O from the iManifold group.
Hey, look, this is really relaxed, Jason. Look, I'm leaning back in my damn recliner here, so.
I'm in my workshop here where all my recording stuff for my music is at.
Oh, cool.
Get
cool,
out.
cool.
What is all that stuff? What do? You play guitar? Obviously.
I played in a band for years, yeah, back when I was in another lifetime.
But you're up in Chicago, right?
I am.
Cool.
That is awesome. I played in a band for years, and I also have said the very same line from a different lifetime. That's funny. Oh, my gosh. Well, that's cool, man.
I listened to band for years, so.
Listen to bands. Well, that's really neat. How long ago was it that you played in the band?
About 18 years.
That sounds about right. Last gig I had was 2002, so that's 15 years ago.
Yeah, we're real close.
Yeah. Well, you're about the same age as me. You were, what are you, 39?
Yeah, I'm gonna be 40 this year.
Yeah, I'm 37, so I'm right behind you. Not too far. Well, that's cool.
How's the weather by you today?
Weather over here was really nice. You know, it's 80-something. Humidity's high like it always is. It'll be high until November.
Yeah, it was pretty warm here today. It was one of our hotter days. We were approaching 90 with high humidity, so the AC was really working. You can hear them on all through the neighborhood clicking on as they started turning on.
And are you in Chicago?
Yep, I'm like 2 minutes outside of Chicago in a little suburb.
What's the name?
Oak Lawn, Illinois.
Hey, my ex-wife was from Oak Lawn.
Aye, aye, aye.
Yeah, aye, right.
I can walk, 2 blocks and be back in Chicago.
Yeah.
Well,
she lived there for a while anyway.
Is that the White Sox behind you, or is that something
Yes,
else?
it is. We're big Sox fans in this house.
Oh,
No way.
Hate the Cubs, huh? Oh, man. Well, that's something. Well, I always liked Frank Thomas, Blackjack McDowell. They were good.
Yeah, now you're talking when we were growing up, yeah.
Yeah.
I got to see him in 2005. I got to go to the World Series game, so that was cool.
Oh, that's great.
That is pretty awesome. Yeah, Frank Thomas was one of my favorite players. It was like he was at a different ballpark than everybody else that was playing around him. The Big Hurt.
He was a beast.
He was. But that's...
When I was a kid, I used to work at the ballpark when I was in high school, and I got to stand next to him a few times. He was like 3 or 4 people over me.
Wow. Is that Kaminsky, then? The name of the ballpark?
Yeah, it used to be Comiskey. Now it's some kind of guaranteed rate field or something.
Corporate.
Oh,
It's
that's
a
funny.
corporate field.
The Doritos Taco Bell Stadium or something like that.
It used to be U.S. Cellular, and now it's guaranteed rate. They keep changing it.
Oh.
That's the one thing about Wrigley. It'll always be Wrigley.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Well, that's great. Well, now that we all know each other somewhat, we can get right to it. What we do is we usually get right into it, Jason. And the first thing that I would love to ask you is, how do you say your last name correctly?
Yeah, it's Obrzut. It's Polish.
Obrzut. Well, my name
I
is.
need to buy a few vowels.
Well,
Hey, Jason, I'm just going to call you Jason O. How about that?
Oh, yeah. Well, that's probably fine. My last name is Polish. It's Psioda, so I can understand that.
So you grew up with it like me, so we're good.
Yeah, I grew up with a variety of nicknames, and none of them were complimentary.
Mine neither.
Well, why don't you tell us about, you have 3 jobs. You know, we got in contact with you because of the iManifold, but tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do.
I'm a teacher, director of education at a school in Chicago called HVAC Technical Institute. I'm the head instructor and director of education. Wrote the curriculum. I've been there for 15 years now. Here by iManifold to do a variety of things. And I'm working with Cengage Learning and ESCO on some writing materials on some books, some textbooks and things like that.
Well,
So there's not a whole lot of free time in there.
What's it like to be someone that young who's teaching out there? Because all the other teachers are more than likely older than you. Was it difficult?
Yeah, it was not a smooth transition. It took a lot of learning, and the biggest one was patience. When someone doesn't want to believe what you're saying, or if you've explained it like 4 times in 4 different methods and they're still not getting it, then now today with classes and the younger kids, they can't get off the cell phones or the iPads, and you can't get them to listen to you. I mean, the biggest thing is patience.
Now,
It took me a while to learn that.
So where you teach at, is that through high school, or is it a technical school, or?
It is a technical school, a private school, and we teach heating and air, and we just started an electrician's program.
And that's all you have to teach is electrician or electrical and heating and air.
Correct. It's a post-secondary school.
Wow. So the age range would be 18 to 24 or 18 to 54.
Actually, yeah, 54. I've gotten a lot of guys looking for a career change.
Wow. Now, in this, when they come in to, and this is one of the things about technical schools that they give false promises. Oh, when you get out, you're gonna make $80,000 a year and that kind of crazy stuff.
We're not on selling that. We keep the classes smaller. There's usually 15 students in a classroom, and we have the employers come out and talk to the students. We have a big group of employers that hire from us, and they're upfront with them with how much they pay and the hours they're going to work and what they're expected to do.
Right.
They're informed right up front that, hey, this is what you're getting into.
Cool. But yeah, like Lincoln Tech or the online schools, or they promise, oh, you're going to make $123,000 a year right out of school.
No, that's very unrealistic. Yeah.
You know what? It is, and in debt when they get out, and they're making.
Our tuition's not that bad.
Well, that's good.
We're lower than most, but then again, we don't have other departments that we have to fund and things like that. It's just HVAC.
Well, that's good. Sounds like I wish all states had something like that instead of like a big tech school that does, the beauticians on one end of the building and computer guys on another and the HVAC on the other. That.
And they're just churning these guys out left and right.
Yeah.
Like a Miller Mott style college.
Yep.
Well, that is good. Mike Rowe talks about this a lot. Mike Rowe from Dirty Jobs, saying that more people should get into this sort of thing. And I believe that's true. There's some kind of stigma out there that, trades are lower than regular college graduate degrees. I just don't believe that's true because we're pretty smart guys, I would think.
Yeah.
I hope to think so. Trades are, just as difficult as any other job. My brother's got a 4-year degree, and where's he at? Working for my father, doing HVAC. It's just, everyone, they always need trades. You always need to repair something that's broken. And I don't know.
You
I don't
can't
know why
take
people
that
say
knowledge away.
Oh, yeah.
Once you have that knowledge, you'll be employable for the rest of your life doing something somewhere.
So how do you feel about being an instructor and working on the iManifold project? How do you feel about the young guys handing them that iManifold without any real knowledge of how the field actually works or how the system actually works. You give them this piece of equipment that can pretty much not troubleshoot it, but do it a whole lot easier. Do you think it dumbs down the tech?
No, not necessarily. There's a lot of numbers and things. First of all, they're very quick to embrace it because it's technology. It's
Right.
similar, they get to pull out their cell phone or their iPad and use that during class. But you still have to know what all the numbers on the screen mean. You still have to know what all those pressures and temperatures and all the calculations are. I usually don't pull something like that out until they have a very good understanding of the refrigeration cycle. They understand
Right.
what superheat is and subcooling is. I make them calculate it by hand using a temperature pressure chart, and then I show them, something like the iMan. And I don't give them instructions. I'll give it to them and see, all right, what can they figure out and what can't they figure out? And that kind of helps me make the training videos that I make for iManifold.
Right. That was like Jim Bergman was talking about the other day. He answers a lot of tech calls that he doesn't have to answer, guys from the field, like owners like me and Zack. If we run into something, we don't have anybody to call. We don't have a boss to call. We don't have, anybody to call. And he said that's how he makes a lot of his training calls or his training videos is by the calls he gets from guys like us in the field.
That's exactly it. They brought me on this year. iManifold did to do quite a few different things, and it's been very exciting to say that. I mean, there's a lot going on. They're staying very busy, and I'm very excited about it.
What all are you handling at the
Involved with such a
iManifold?
project.
Well, it's very exciting. What I know you're doing the YouTube stuff. What else are you doing for iManifold?
I make the training videos. I test out the gauges. I try and find problems with the different products. I get it to the students, see what new and interesting way can they break it or make it crash or do anything like that. Because students make really good beta testers. Believe it or not.
Yeah.
Yep.
So they just had the latest update.
On the 31st, I want to say yes.
What do they call that?
It was some kind of. You're looking for the animal that was on there?
Yeah. What was it? Because I kind of got a glimpse of it, but I can't remember what it's called.
I don't remember what it's called either. It's some kind of weird.
Yeah, it was weird. It was
thing.
Yeah, it was strange. It was a weird name for an update.
Yeah, to say the least. But I do a lot of contractor training here. There's a couple of programs the utilities employ that use the iManifold to do their rebate programs and stuff. And I meet up with groups of contractors, show them how to use it. A lot of them are 40 and 50-year-old technicians that are using analog gauges that want nothing to do with technology. So it was a tough sell at first, but once I opened their eyes and said, hey, look, this is how you connect it. Look at all this information you get. By the end of the session, they were all sold on it.
Right, because when it first came out, you weren't around when it first came out, of course, but when it first came out, guys like me and Zack and a couple other guys, we were hard pressed. No, man, this is a piece of junk. What about us? We've been doing this all the time. How's that going to replace us? And it's taking all those measurements, and I did buy one and got to, hey man, this thing is pretty cool. It will do a ton of different stuff.
The reporting is big. The different reports that you can customize and send to the customer or send to your boss.
Right.
The Tech Connect is big. If you have a whole group of technicians, say 5-10 technicians, and they're out there using it, you as the owner can sit there from your computer, log into any one of their units and say, all right, here's the problem. You've got the probe switch, or you got this thermometer wrong, or your air probes in the wrong place. It allows you to look at all of your employees, what they're doing, what they're connected to, and talk to them over the phone while they got real-time readings on your screen. So the Tech Connect's a big thing.
Right.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. I remember Stephen Reardon sent that to me. I remember he was in Raleigh, North Carolina, and he said, you want to take a look at something for me? I said, sure. And I was at the soccer game, actually, speak of the devil, like I was last night. And he sent his pressures and all of his readings to me and asked me what was going on. It was interesting. He sent it to Brent Ridley as well. And that was a very cool feature. And I could see how if you were a boss man at the office and you had to deal with all of these guys calling in going, what's this mean? What's this mean? Now you can take a look at it firsthand and maybe get to the root of the problem a whole lot faster. So I did. I thought it was a nice feature.
It is technology. We got some new things we're doing that I'm involved in. We're doing these webinars now. All the dates are on the website on iManifold.com, but they're different topics: getting started, making money with the iManifold, navigating the app. We do about 4 or 5 a month, and it's usually me or Eric or Nick, a few of the guys from the team that are hosting these webinars, and it's about an hour long, and it's basically centered around how to use the tool, how to use it better, some of the different features and things like that. And they go on all different times. Some are Eastern, some are better for the West Coast Central Time, things like that, in order to help people out once they've bought it, or people that do have it and they're only using it for this one specific thing. It'll open up their eyes. Oh, there's all these other options that you can do with it. So it's been really popular since we've done about 3 or 4 of them already, and they're pretty heavily attended. We actually had capacity on the last one, and there's another one coming up June 8th, and that one again is on getting started on the how to set it all up, pair the probes up, map the temperatures, things like that.
Now, when did you first learn about the iManifold?
I saw it 3 years ago at a educators conference.
Ah.
I talked to a lot of the early users, and I've been aware of it. I've actually held a few of them in my hand and used them in an educator's capacity at years past at HVAC Excellence conferences.
Right.
The educators are at, and I ran into a couple of the guys that, hey, you got to see this, you got to check this out, and you got to put one of these in your school. And ever since then, I've been following it.
Now, how did you get into the field?
I got laid off in a dock position. I was working in a freezer, and I used to see I used to be the foreman, and all the guys used to purposely drive the forklift into the evaporator, and the evaporator would come down and shut down work completely. And we would have to call the AC company out, and they would have to fix the evaporator. And I saw the size of the checks that we were cutting to these companies to come out at all hours of the day to fix these things. So when I got laid off at the dock, I said, that's what I'm going to do.
Wow.
That's something else. I like that story.
How long ago was that?
Oh, 16, 17 years ago.
Wow. It's amazing how people...
I was young.
Yeah, well, I've been in the field 24 years, and so it's amazing how we all get into the field. So I like to ask that question of the guys that are on here. How do you get into doing it?
You never know. You never know.
One of the guys that's on the technical team with us, his name's Carter Stanfield. He's an author. His father owned a business. He was a contractor, and Carter got brought into the business as a child. He was running service calls with his father, riding in a van, that sort of thing. So he was brought up in the industry. That's a really cool story. How did you get into it? Oh, I used to do ride-alongs with my father when I was 9 years old, that sort of thing. Troubleshooting chillers at 12 years old. So
you have quite a few jobs that you do, like the iManifold, and then you're a teacher. Now you're working with the EPA, or you're not working with the EPA, but
I'm part of a group of guys that put together an app for the new requirements for the EPA. The app was called HVACR-Log, but now it's going to be HVACR-Log. If you go to the website, it's called rlog.com. There's links for iTunes and the Play Store to get the app. But what its intention is starting next year, all the reporting requirements that the EPA is come down with, having to track where you're doing recoveries or charging, what did you do with the refrigerant, where's the address. They're really hitting on these reporting features, and all this app is a refrigerant tracker, and it uses GPS tracking. You put in there how much you recovered or how much you charged, if you leak tested, how did you leak test, and it'll store it either in your phone, or you could do a cloud thing. You can generate receipts, put your company logo in there, and send it to the customer. And at $1, it's a steal for a logging app like that. So it allows contractors. You could send it to the boss. You could send it to the homeowner. But it helps you satisfy that requirement of the record keeping. It also has a feature for over 50 pounds. You got to report that to the EPA. It also has that option where you can send that information to the website where they want their reporting sent to.
So the app is $1 per use, or?
No, it's just $1.
$1. Well, that's
Yep.
a good deal.
It's
the
in
hell?
iTunes and it's in Google Play Store.
It's there now.
Yes. If you go to rlog.com, there's links that'll take you to both of them.
Oh, cool.
It
Cool.
used to be called R-Log, and then some things happened with the name, but now it's going to be HVACR-Log.
Now, how'd you get through the school? Is that how you got involved?
I met another instructor at the conference again, the HVAC Excellence Conference, and it was his brainchild, and we started, powwowing. It should do this, it should do that. And he put it all together, and what I'm basically doing is beta testing it, helping him. Here, this is where I think we should do this, giving him the ideas. His name's Robert Stringham, actually, and he teaches at Edison. He's got a big YouTube channel with a lot of people on it. And I use the students to beta test it in the lab and, to figure out what goes wrong with it, things like that. But it's hopefully going to be pretty big, actually. The news, the HVAC News, the magazine, they're actually doing an article on it. They interviewed me yesterday, and they're interviewing Robert on Monday.
So is this doesn't have anything to do with the, now we have to keep, when we put a piece of equipment in, we have to keep track of where that equipment goes as well.
Well, the refrigerant, they're just interested right now in the refrigerant.
Well, the equipment as well, too.
Depending on how much the charge is and things like that.
Right.
If it's over 50 pounds, it has to be reported. If it's under 50 pounds, then you're supposed to store it yourself, and the homeowner's supposed to keep a copy and things like that. It's supposed to be like on the honor system. But
Right. Now, do you think that the new administration is going to change any of that?
you know what? Even if he wants to, I don't think he can.
Because of everything involved in it.
Just the businesses. Believe it or not, I believe it's driven by business. If they were to say, let's get rid of all this, let's go back to the way it was, the companies, the manufacturers like the Carriers and the Goodmans and the DuPont, well, Chemours now, they're not going to take a step backwards. They're not going to make one product that's sold here and say, well, we can't sell this overseas. We can only sell it here.
Right.
They want to be international companies. They want to make products they can sell here and overseas.
Right.
So I had a feeling this is business driven, and whatever the business decides, that's what's going to happen.
Well, yeah, there is a lot of lobbyists fighting for and against a lot of different things.
Yeah.
But let's say they say, oh, we're going to bring back R22.
Well,
where are you going to sell it?
Yeah, that's not going to happen. No, I was talking about.
I'm just in general that type of backwards step that you would take.
I was just talking about keeping the logs of the refrigerant.
It would take probably 2 or 3 years to overturn that.
Really? I didn't know.
In the courts.
Yeah, I didn't know if the administration was going to try to get rid of that part of it, that regulation.
I don't know. I kind of like it, believe it or not.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of that, in the residential world, is it going to change much for guys like me and Ralph as far as what we do? Because we're under 50 pounds, obviously. So is it just this honor system is basically all we're going to be dealing with?
Right. If you ever get audited by the EPA, they're going to want to see the records for 3 years or something like that.
Oh, well, I just like getting audited by anyone with three-letter acronyms.
I was going to ask, though, when's the last time someone was actually audited by the EPA?
I had one story when they first started all this. One of the sales guys at the supply house I shop at, he was a service manager for this big company, big refrigeration company, 100-pound machines and up. And he went in and he created a program. Back then it was filing cabinets. It wasn't any of the stuff on the computer. And he created a program, and all those records was kept in the filing cabinet. One filing cabinet over there had all the EPA records they wanted. They actually audited him, and he said, "There you go, boys. There it is. Look up whatever you want to."
Oh.
And he said they were there for a while, but he had all his stuff like he needed. But that's the only time.
That's
good. But that's the only time I ever heard of somebody getting audited.
Wow.
So to be in compliance, I guess, one of the big things they're hoping for is companies, when they advertise, they're going to say that we're in compliance. That's going to be their big, to homeowners and to, especially a lot of people these days are concerned with the environment and things like that. A company that's in compliance with the EPA, if you can sell that as your tagline.
There's a company here. They're supposed to be like the biggest train dealer in North America. And what they're advertising now, is they're the only company in the state of Georgia that has that is EPA Energy Star certified. And I'm like, what the hell are they even talking about? But they're using that EPA thing as a way to, market themselves.
And I feel a lot of companies are going to do that moving forward.
Right. And it's just like, man, what a crock this guy is shooting across the radio.
Does this affect just new installs, or are service techs affected by this as well?
It's starting January 1st. It's anytime you touch refrigerant, they want to know where it went.
Wow.
Was it going into the unit? Was it coming out of the unit? If it came out of the unit, where did it go?
So what about, it's going to be hard to track because there's so many side work guys.
Yes.
You know what I mean? How they going to even track it is
it's a daunting task, if you ask me.
I don't think they would ever be able to do it.
You look at the bigger companies, the companies that have hundreds of techs running around, they're prime targets for the EPA. That's easy money, as the EPA would see it. So companies like that are probably going to be forced to keep very accurate records. But like you said, side jobs and smaller contractors, they're not even on the radar.
The supply houses are actually going to be.
There's another one.
Yeah, because they can very easily go into the supply house records and say, okay, you sold a drum to Chuck in a truck.
Yeah.
Now, where is he at? They could do it like that, but it would be a big task.
That's interesting, because supply houses have, like, they used to call it at Gym Air the Skeeter account. Anybody that came in that didn't have an account was on the Skeeter account. So I'm guessing they won't be able to do that anymore with any sort of refrigerant, because there's no way of telling where it's going.
Right.
See, that's why the new EPA card thing is coming up, because you don't have to have an EPA card to buy 410 or 134 or any of these replacement refrigerants.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't have to have an EPA card.
There's
but
a
now
that closes, yeah.
That's fixing to close. So now Walmart, so they're going to actually have to cut out Amazon.com.
Yep.
All these people that are selling on eBay aren't going to be able to sell anymore.
To be honest, around here, Craigslist is very big for that. You can go on Craigslist and find people selling refrigerant all day.
Right. Well, that's going to stop. But, I don't know. It's going to be a tough deal.
I think it's better for the industry moving forward to help kind of cut out some of the fat. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah, maybe laying down the groundwork for actually being able to enforce something at a later date, just making people aware of it. Because like me and Ralph, they'll never find us. When Ralph's venting refrigerant beside the unit.
Yeah.
Right, Ralph.
Yeah, my white rag recovery.
Yeah. God.
Rolling recovery.
But for real though, they'll never get anyone like me or him for a foreseeable future. But it lays the groundwork for being aware that that's the direction they're heading in, I guess.
I think that's the direction they're heading in. Yes, to make people say, "Hey, we are trying to do something about this. These are the ground rules we're laying." And at some point, I believe they're going to say, "And here's our enforcement of it. This is how we're going to enforce it." Wow. And I know it's going to take one or two companies to get really wrung out by the EPA for the rest of everyone to look around and say, "Hey, I don't want that to happen to my company."
Yeah,
and I have a feeling. I have a feeling some of these guys, because I worked with a guy one time, and he watched the company. They were doing a demo in a building, and he watched the company just blow the charge on a couple package units, and he called the EPA and told them. Because he was like, I'm going to turn them in. And their exact answer was, well, we're not really worried about it. So
that was their answer.
That was their answer.
When was this? How many years ago?
That was 11 years ago, 12 years ago.
I bet a lot's changed to EPA.
Well, yeah.
I got to say that the only thing I think the way the current administration can get in there and mess this up is if they cut back on the personnel, and they don't have as many people out there to enforce anything or to just feet on the ground, boots on the ground to get around and actually get to all of these calls, get to these audits and things like that.
Well, I don't know. There's some pretty stringent people that work at the EPA.
That's sort of a political method to, take the legs out of something so it can't work. Instead of being able to just get rid of it, they'll just make it unable to function. I can see them trying to do that.
But don't forget, now everyone's carrying around a cell phone, and in that cell phone is a very high-definition camera.
Yeah, and people aren't afraid to use it.
That's true.
Not at all.
Nope.
I'm surprised that's not more common, actually.
The lady
There's going to be a website pop up soon. You watch.
Yeah, there's the lady standing outside or inside her bathroom window watching the air conditioning guy take her, you know,
10K.
to the white rag recovery.
A streak of oil across the lawn.
Yep.
Car payment's not late anymore.
So, and another thing that's going to do is prevent people now from adding 407C on top of 22.
Yeah, that can't be reclaimed.
Yeah, it can't be reclaimed. Well, I mean, you could, because you could be like, well, because a lot of these manufacturers, like air gas, they send me stuff all the time, say, hey, we'll take all your refrigerant from your scrap or all your recovered refrigerant, and if you start giving us enough of it, clean stuff, we will take your stuff that's mixed. Let's say somebody mixed it and I recovered it, and we will take that and not penalize you for it.
Normally, what they do is burn it.
Right.
It is quite an expensive process to separate those types of refrigerants. There's actually a company around here. They're actually nationwide. I think it's called USA Refrigerants.
Mm-hmm.
And they actually pay for recovered R22.
Right,
They're paying
right.
like $11 a pound.
Right.
Wow.
So I can see that. Yeah. Well, that's where I see these reporting things help out. Every year they'll say, okay, we have this many million pounds of R22 available, new R22, and the gap has got to be closed with what's being released and what we need by recovered refrigerant. And every year we miss that target. Every year they say, okay, we need 8 million pounds of recovered refrigerant, and we only got 4.
Yeah.
And we end up short, and the price goes through the roof. If we can get more people to recover refrigerant and bring it in, it could possibly help bring the price down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, there's some very bad recovery practices out there. Non-existent. I don't know. It's the description, probably.
That's a very good description.
I don't know. Just, the service valve got opened in the truck on the way home, sort of recovery.
It was empty when we got there.
Yeah.
I call that the rolling recovery.
The rolling recovery. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what? Let's talk about refrigerant for a second. You have to work with them all the time. What do you think the lifespan for 410A is going to be?
I'm a little concerned about 410A right now. All the reports are that there's shortages. The price has gone up. It's actually doubled over here. It's almost $200 a tank here.
It's almost tripled here from last year.
And they're saying it's because a lot of the components in 410A come from China. And because of the global demand for 410A, China they're experiencing serious shortages in these chemicals, and the supply is dwindling. And they don't expect it to catch up till like next year.
Well,
sometime.
the 125 that goes in 410A also goes into every other replacement refrigerant as well.
And R32 is the another one that they're just extremely short on. So I think, okay, they said we're going to make this switch from 22 to 410, but nobody looked to say, hey, are we able to make 410 for the legacy of the unit, the life of this unit? They were too focused on this is the environmental effect and not the longevity of it.
Right. They were too worried about making replacements to worry about making 410.
So we'll see where it goes. I mean, it's not a bad refrigerant at all. I mean, if you can get past the pressures.
Right.
That's the sad part. We go into the future here. What refrigerant's going to be next? Because if it's R32, which doesn't function as well for some other issues, or whatever they choose, is going to be some kind of blend of already shortaged refrigerants.
Right. I think the next round is going to be natural refrigerant. Somehow they're going to have to use like CO2 or ammonia or something like that.
How do you think they'll make the jump from something especially like CO2 with the pressures and the condensing issues into residential?
That's going to be a hell of a jump, and I don't think it's going to happen overnight. I think it's going to happen over decades.
Right. I think I'd probably choose that over ammonia.
I would do that, and propane is the other one there. But right now there's a code that you can't have a flammable charge in a system with more than so many pounds of refrigerant. So that's basically for small appliances. You look in refrigeration, the True brand, the double door stainless steels, they're all coming with propane in them already.
Yeah, I saw a few of the guys were using, I don't know what it's just a few ounces, I think, for whatever, 290.
Right, 290, correct.
Hold on. I can't see propane being used on a massive scale either. It's hard to see what would happen next.
Well, right. First, they would have to lift the code on it, and then they could allow it to be even experimented with in residential units.
Wow. Sounds exciting, huh, Ralph?
Yeah,
It's up in the air.
I'm just sitting here imagining the little kids walking by the air conditioner and it get a shorted compressor and then boom. You know what I mean? That's what I'm sitting here imagining.
I do. Or a technician thinking that, it's all out of there, putting a torch to the line.
Exactly. Because it's going to remain in the oil. It's going to remain in the oil. And it's so, I don't know how many times have you been recovering or changing the compressor and go to sweat it out and all of a sudden, whoa.
After you've done a full recovery, it's still lingering around in there.
Yeah. Not a good surprise with propane.
Not to change gears, but one of the other things I wanted to get to with the iManifold thing is we just started this thing called Tech Talk. It's on the website, and it's a place where if you're an iManifold user and you have questions about how to use the unit or something came up, you can go on there and start a thread, and there's a whole group of people on the team that'll go on at different hours and answer all the different questions that come up.
Well, most of the guys, there's a Facebook group called iManifold users or something like that. I'm on it.
I just asked to be on it today.
Yeah. It's been. I think Stephen Raridan actually created that group.
I believe you're right.
So I mean, when it first came out, he was the first guy on the bandwagon. I mean, he talked to anybody that would listen. I'm sure him and his dog had a couple of conversations about the iManifold.
His dog's probably got his own iManifold or iConnect.
Probably does.
Probably
does. So
the good thing about going again there is you're going to get an answer from somebody that works there that that handles the programming, that handles these tools on a daily basis.
Right.
So it'll be an iManifold endorsed type answer. Right. I see on the threads all the time, technicians go onto these forums and they help each other out, which is a really good thing because there's very little camaraderie in our field.
Well, yeah. Well, you know what? That's the nice part about some of these Facebook pages that we have. There's a lot of us that know each other, a lot of us that have respect for each other, and a lot of guys that have respect for us, and it's a really cool thing that we can just talk to each other like we're talking now.
Right, not tear each other down.
Right, but there are groups like that though.
Oh man, I see guys go on and post an install, looks pretty nice, and then you'll see 50 guys underneath there saying, "Oh, that looks like hell. That's terrible." I'm thinking to myself, "What, were you born with a set of gauges in your hand, or what?"
I say that. I used to say that.
He did actually say that. Yeah.
This guy had a meter in one hand and a set of gauges in the other.
And they were digital gauges too.
And they were digital
on
gauges.
top. Wow.
Yeah. Came out of the womb like that.
Yeah. It's kind of hard. It's kind of intimidating for guys who are younger, or even some of the older guys, to put their stuff up because they don't want to be drugged through the mud.
Right.
Yeah, I'm very hesitant to put anything up there for, you know what I mean? I'm going to get jumped on. Oh, that condensate line's a 1/4 inch off a level.
And they'll sit there and they will find they'll pick every little part, every little thing apart. And it's just like, you know what? You just have to, if you're going to do it, you better have thick skin. Because,
yeah, that's...
at the end of the day, as long as that system is working the way it's supposed to be working, and you've done your best, that's all anybody can ask.
Right. I mean, if you walk into somebody's house, the floor is not level, the ceiling's not level. I mean, you're not going to rebuild this house to make a 100% picture perfect install. You got to work with what you walk into. Yeah,
I know. That's the point we try to make all the time. You can't rebuild the wheel. And you can only do what the customer's checkbook will allow you to do.
Well, we got to take this wall out because this unit's 2 inches wide, or we're going to just take this whole wall down, right? Yeah, that's not going to happen.
Hey, we do have a guy that's on YouTube that will do that. And he'll do it, on his own. He's a great guy.
This is Chuck again? Or?
Yeah, Chuck.
Well, Chuck's different than the average technician. He will do things that are above and beyond, and I admire him, and I think he's the greatest of all of us.
He does a really good job. And he owns.
That's good. It's good to hear, stories like that instead of, for example, I went on a call. One of my students called me. My graduate students called me, said, you've got to see this. So he took me on the call. The customer had called. He had a Craigslist company come out and install this furnace. It was a used gas furnace on top of it from the flea market.
God.
And when we got out there, it was an upflow furnace turned upside down.
Oh my God.
And it was installed that way.
Oh my God. What they do with the flue? They drill a hole, turn the flue over, and
He just put a P-trap in there, or U-trap on the flue.
Oh
The problem was the rollouts are now on the bottom instead of the top, and the
yeah.
thing was operating with a rollout, and it burned all the wires up.
Oh
It
my
was asking me, hey, am I allowed to fix this? Should I fix this? If I put this back in the service, the same thing's going to happen. I told him, you know what? Don't put your hands on it.
Yeah, run away.
The only thing you're going to do to put your hand on it is turning the gas valve off.
Yeah.
Yeah, I said, you know what? If you fix that and you walk away and the house burns down, you're the last person that worked on it.
Oh, that's horrible. Multi-position.
I mean, it's good to hear, like you said, the stories of Chuck, like, you know, going above and beyond, because there's so many stories about there of Chuck in a truck that shows up and just does a back-asswards job.
Yeah, well, Chuck does on a truck, but he does a hell of a job.
He does. A lot of the guys on YouTube are held to a standard because we put it out there. So if it's not good, we're going to get reamed out even more so than the Facebook guys.
You're putting your work out there for everyone to see. It's not just some lines of text on a screen. It's an actual.
No, it's homeowners, and it's business owners, and it's, you know, instructors like yourself, you know, whatever.
It's a craft. We treat it as a craft.
Yeah, and there are some, you know, as an instructor, you seem like you're not one of those guys that go in and just blast people. But there are some instructors that will do it.
I've met one or two of them that come across. Listen, I'm a senior tech. I'm a master specialist. If you know what I mean.
Master.
This is what you need. Yeah.
That's the ESCO brand, isn't it?
Yeah, I like that.
It's just what he titled himself. He never took an exam. He never. You know what I mean?
I worked for the guy, and that's how he would introduce himself. He said, "Hello, I'm Jesse, and I'm master specialist." And I'm like, whatever. Dude.
Okay.
Whatever.
I let my work speak for itself.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, you could tell a good instructor by talking to their students.
Right.
That's the truth.
Don't let the instructor tell you how good they are. Let the students tell you how good the instructor is.
Oh yeah. Yep. That's a good way to look at it. But yeah, there's plenty of those guys out there. They'll rip you.
Don't forget to listen to part 2 with Jason next Tuesday, June the 13th. And also, go over to YouTube and leave us a comment. Let us know how we're doing, what you'd like to see on the podcast, what kind of guest, and whether or not we're doing a good job. Give us a thumbs up or thumbs down. Let us know how we're doing, and we'll see you on the next one.